Just an hour's drive north of Orlando, Florida is one of the strangest and most unique places in the country, Cassadaga. At first glance, this small, beautiful location may look like an average town populated with average people, but Cassadaga has often been called the psychic capital of the world. Cassadaga was originally founded and established as a safe haven for self-described spiritualists, followers of a religious movement based on the belief in spirits of the dead. Today, the population of this town is very small, but it still serves as a local hotspot for mediums, psychics, healers, and members of the active spiritualist camp. Cassadaga is also home to the mysterious urban legend known as the Devil's Chair. Today I am going to be visiting Cassadaga to explore the beautiful town, to learn about the beliefs and practices of the local spiritualists, and to investigate the mystery of the Devil's Chair.
My name is Jamie Osmond Ratcliffe. I am an activities coordinator here for the camp, and I'm also an historical tour guide.
When was Cassadaga first originally founded?
In 1874. So as the story goes, George Colby had an Indian spirit guide by the name of Seneca, and he was told during a seance to travel to Wisconsin to seek out a gentleman by the name of T.D. Giddings. And from there they would be given further information. So he did seek out this gentleman, he found him, and they were told that they were to go south to open up a spiritualist camp. So in 1874, they traveled here and they opened the spiritualist camp. We didn't become incorporated until 1894, which is why this is the 125th anniversary.
Wow, 125th?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Now I've seen a lot of signs for like the Seneca Park, the Seneca Road. So is this is in reference to the spirit guide?
It is, and most of our members at that time were members of Lilydale, which is a spiritualist camp up in New York that was already established. So a lot of the street names around here are the same names that you would find up there in Lilydale.
Although Colby died in 1933, the spiritualist camp he started here still continues to this very day. As the town started to grow in popularity, more and more spiritualists joined the community, and now there's a small town of mediums, psychics, and healers. How many different historic buildings would you say there are? Like, what are their names?
There's about 55 buildings, I believe. It's around 55 in camp, and pretty much every one of them is historical.
Wow.
Every one of them. The majority of the houses were built between 1905 and 1915. Mm-hmm. The oldest surviving residential house that I'm aware of is Ed Conklin's house that was built in 1897. That's the oldest that is surviving. The Andrew Jackson Davis Educational Center and Bookstore, which we're in now, dates back to about 1905. The temple dates back to 1923. But the oldest structure in camp, I believe, is Ed Conklin's house.
At some point, the legend of the Devil's Chair started to gain traction. The famous urban legend says that at night, the devil himself sits on a chair in the graveyard. Unopened cans of beer left at night will be found opened and empty by the next morning, allegedly drank by the devil. Before investigating this urban legend, I want to first learn more about the spiritualists and what they believe.
Yeah, my name is Ed Conklin. I do readings. I'm a reverend and a medium in Cassadaga here. To explain spiritualism, it's the communication with those who are continuing on in some sort of afterlife over there.
Okay, my name is Richard Russell. It was started basically by a lot of Christian followers. Mm-hmm. However, we are not a dogmatic religion.
Right.
We have Jews here, we have Muslims here, we have Buddhists here, we have some agnostics here, and I think we have a few atheists here. We believe that there's many paths to God,
Right.
and that each religion has a glimpse of the truth. We have, I don't know if you've heard the 9 principles that guide us. As long as you accept those 9 principles, you can be a Protestant, or you can be a Jew, or you can be a Buddhist. If you accept the 9 principles, one of which is the Golden Rule.
Right.
The Golden Rule is in most religions. Everything that we do is in the Bible.
Yes.
The Bible is our holy book, and all the spiritual gifts that we do are in 1 Corinthians chapter 12.
Like, what would you say are some of the main beliefs of spiritualism, some of the main tenets, or?
Yeah, well, that life is continuous. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. Of course, we leave our body. Everyone knows that. But we take what we've learned. Now, some spiritualists say it's a one-way trip here. In other words, you're born, you live, you die, and you leave. And that's it. Others think a little bit along the lines of reincarnation, that we may come back here to continue the learning process.
From what I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There's when people die, there's one ethereal plane that the spirits go to. Is that correct?
I'll refer you to the Blue Island.
The Blue Island.
It's a book about a father who died on the Titanic in 1912. And 12 to 1,300 people arrived at this place he calls the Blue Island. And the 48 pages of the book are his experiences on the other side of life. And he described this place called the Blue Island. It was a blue shimmering energy. It wasn't a physical rock or anything. And there were spheres going up. And some of the souls immediately started to ascend, while others stayed at the lower level.
So that's where they go. They just go into a dimension. It's more energy than it is material. Yeah. So they may be happy there. They may want to come back here. In my experience, I can only speak to that, but it's a gradation. There's real bright light, and then it gets a little less bright. It gets to grayish areas, and it gets to darkish areas. And I think that's how the Pope and Billy Graham has defined hell. It's kind of a separation from a brighter area.
Spiritualists don't necessarily believe in a hell. We believe that we create our own hell here on earth based on our choices. Hell, as it's stated, is a state of mind and a choice.
So what about reincarnation? Is that a possibility as well? If somebody dies?
It's not an official belief of Cassadaga or teaching. Most of the people here will say they've had past life experiences. We feel that there is something to it. But one of the problems is spiritualism is a science, and you can't necessarily prove one person's experience. There's no way to measure it.
How did you first find out about spiritualism and about Cassadaga?
I believe that I have been a spiritist all my life. I was raised in the Christian churches, the Methodist, the Baptist, but always questioned some things. And about 3 years ago, I had 2 events in my life that happened back to back where Spirit was trying to warn me, was trying to get me to pay attention, and I didn't. And had I, it would have saved a lot of heartache on the part of my family. So at that point, I decided, I lived nearby. I had an employee at my business at the time that attended classes here. And I went in and I said, when's the next class? And she told me. I came out and I realized that there was a name for what I had always believed, what I'd always thought. And there was a place that I could go where the people that I would commune with would, they thought the same. And I felt like I was home.
So my background is in psychology, it's in philosophy, and it's in comparative religions. And so someone brought me for a reading. The medium began telling me things, and I said, how does she know these things, So that really got me interested. And so I delved into it, began to attend classes, and finally one day I did see a spirit. I already was exposed to the phenomena of getting information that you would have no other way except a spirit. So yeah, when I saw the spirit, and it happened to be the instructor's dad, and she identified him. So I said, there really is something to this.
Yeah.
I came to Cassadaga in 1997 to solve some problems in my life. My life turned upside down in upstate New York, Rochester, New York. I had a large real estate company with 150 employees. I was married for 30 years, and all of that blew up on me. And I said, there's something wrong in my life. So I went looking. I didn't know anything about Cassadaga, Florida. And in my trip through New Jersey, I heard about this town called Cassadaga. And I was dating a gal, and we were over on Sanibel Island on vacation. And I said, drop me off. I don't want to go back to New Jersey. And I rented a trailer over in the KO campground next door. And the rest is history.
I've gone around Cassadaga a little bit, and I've seen that there's a lot that it's in common and a lot of connections between other religions. Where do you think spiritualism comes from?
I guess if you go back, this tradition has always been around. There's always been people who could communicate with the spirit world. Call them shamans, in tribal cultures, you go back thousands of years. Modern spiritualism, I suppose, began with the Fox sisters in the 1800s, 1848 in upstate New York. But, there was the Oracle of Delphi in ancient Greece. These people have always lived all throughout history. You can find it. I think spiritualism certainly was in upstate New York. There was a lot of Methodist, Baptist up in that area. And so they were really influenced by that. But I think it broke the connection, spiritualism did, when you claim you can get information when all the spirits are supposed to be like in a big corral in heaven, controlled, not coming and going on their own.
In some ways it's derivative, but in some ways it's a break away from the norm.
Yes, exactly. It has its own particular slant,
Because you mentioned the Holy Spirit, right? So would you say that the Holy Spirit provides the power in order to heal?
Let me put some background on that. I may call it the Holy Spirit, but not every healer here does. That piece of art on the wall, we are one. We're one with each other. We're one with the spirit world. We're one with the animal kingdom. We're one with nature. And it's like one big ball of energy. And what we do to the least of us, we do to each other. And we're trying to give hope and help to people, trying to do healing to people that have tried all the Western medicine.
When we were doing research for this place, we were looking at the spiritualist camp. We were looking at Cassadaga itself, and it seems like one of the most popular. I don't know why it's so popular for some reason. Is in the graveyard, that Devil's Chair urban legend that everybody wants to.
That's a myth, I think it was a father. I can't remember the details, but his daughter died, and he built that gravestone to be a chair, and he used to go and sit there and think about her. Nothing more than a headstone.
Nothing more than just a normal chair.
And there's been a myth built up about it. If the devil will drink the beer, and if you leave it there for him at midnight, and so some of the other students come and drink the beer and put the empty beer can down there.
In the 19th century, families who wanted to visit graveyards to mourn the loss of family members would often have nowhere to sit, leaving them with only two options: stand or sit on the ground. As a result, many families would request chairs to be sculpted from stone to be placed next to the graves. Although the Devil's Chair may be nothing but a mundane myth about an average cemetery seat, it barely scratches the surface of all that Cassadaga has to offer. From the time that I've spent here in this town exploring and learning about the people here, I found that Cassadaga is one of the most unique towns in Florida. Sure, they have beautiful scenery and interesting places to explore, but unlike any place in the country, Cassadaga has a strange history and is populated with so many like-minded people who are all here with a common purpose. For anybody who's watching, what is one thing that you would like them to know about Cassadaga?
Well, I think Cassadaga was founded for people who sincerely wanted to investigate this phenomena, which it is, more. And so even though like regular society has those little ups and downs, politics and that kind of thing, it's still a place for people like-minded, to explore the phenomena of an afterlife in a meaningful way that's convincing to the person investigating and convincing to the people coming here looking for information.
I think the only thing I would say is we are an open, inviting community. We get 20 to 30,000 people a year coming here from all over the world, and we would invite anyone to come and see who we are and hopefully take something away that'll help their lives.
It's a place of liberation. It's a place where you can communicate with spirits and just know that life continues.